Welcome to the Dr. Hockey Podcast. I am Dr. J. Calvert, and today I have a super duper interesting podcast to do. It's going to be something a little different. I'm trying to get my co-host on, everyone, Jason Berkeley, but as you know, he has significant traffic issues.
Is he riding a horse? Yeah, I thought he was riding horses. Was he riding a horse one time you guys did this?
So he was driving past horses. Well, luckily we have somebody who's used to doing some commentating themselves. Brent Severyn is on, people, and we have some good stuff to talk about, from the Dallas Stars to being commentator for the Anaheim Ducks to playing the NHL. I'm really pumped.
Fights. I'd like to talk fights too. Can we talk about fights?
We talk about fights. In fact, we used to have a section where we covered the fights of the week. So I love talking about fights.
That's kind of gone away by the wayside until recently, hasn't it?
It's making a comeback, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about heavyweight fights and guys square. You know, I don't like the violence. I really hate I know everybody hates the violence in hockey, right? Nobody likes the fights. So you know what we should do? Let's get it out of hockey, because nobody wants to see it.
They love it.
What the heck?
No, the fights need to stay. It's in the rule book.
Well, look what's happening with the kid out in New York, right? All they're doing is talking about how many fights he's having, and he's a national hero already. You know, everybody's waiting for the big fight between him and Reeves in Toronto. Yeah, but nobody likes fights. Let's get it out of the game.
Well, I love that Reeves, kind of like mea culpa a little bit too after. I don't know if you saw the interview with him. It was cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, if there's a fight in the National Hockey League, it's rare. Like, it's a solar eclipse, so I'm tuned in for sure.
Well, so just for our listeners, Brent, I'll tell them what you're up to now, and then we'll go through some of the stuff that you've done in the past too. But Brent is now, you're doing commentating for the Dallas Stars at this time.
Yeah, I do the TV work between periods, pre and post game stuff, and squawk during the games. Yeah,
excellent. And you happen to have a really hot team to be doing that for right now in the Dallas Stars. Yeah. They're cooking with gas, are they not?
They are cooking, yeah. And even last year they were a pretty good team. This year it is much different, man. You got some money, you're going to lay it on the Stars. There's so many things we could talk about, but I just watch them on a daily basis. And guess what? They're at the top, one of the top teams in the Western Conference. They're one of the top teams in their division, and they still haven't played to their potential. It's unbelievable. So when they get going, when this team, as you say, gets a little gas on them, it's going to be unbelievable. So I cannot wait for playoffs to see if they're able to turn it on. Because in 1999, I was here as a member of the Stars, and I was able to watch what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. And now when I'm in the dressing room with the guys and watch them on the ice and kind of watch how everything is unfolded this year, it's pointing in the direction where, yes, it is a viable team that can win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and you were there. Your name is on the cup.
Yep. I was very fortunate to see how it's done. My job was a pugilist and I was a fighter, so I didn't get much time in the playoffs, but I got to see how it all unfolds and how it works. And I've been on successful teams before. And I kind of, in college, I had University of Alberta, one of the most successful franchises in university hockey in North America. And you could see how they put together teams. And then I was a team in Europe where we won the championship. And I was a team here with the Stars that won a championship. And there's a template to it. There's a certain way things have to unfold. There is a pecking order. There's a catalyst inside. You got to have good goaltending. The coach has to work a certain way. So it's a pretty cool thing. But putting it all together as a general manager is very difficult. And Jim Nill has really done that. So, I'm not much about the money bags. I like the guys that are in there grinding and fighting and battling. So their bottom guys in their lineup are really kind of going to lift this team up, as well as the top guys as well.
Well, it's interesting. There are a lot of top guys, but, the Stars, to me, is a team that wins by committee. And they don't have that. I mean, they have incredible stars. I mean, nobody's taking it away from Pavelski or Robertson or Rope Hintz. I mean, the Stars have lots of firepower. And, of course, Jamie Benn always seems to be there when he's needed. It's amazing how key he is as the glue of this team. But what I really see for the Stars is they just, like, every game's a little different for how they get it done. They don't have a formula. They really have some versatile players who are strong, smart, and they know that they don't have a Kucherov. They don't have an Artemi Panarin. They don't have a anybody who like a McDavid. They do it with all the guns that they do have. And I love watching them play. Pavelski is one of my hands down favorite players in the NHL. Hands down. I love watching that guy play. He gets it done no matter how bad the odds are, no matter what's going on. I just think that is one of the best players in the NHL.
Yeah. And you think about it, he was like a cast off for the San Jose Sharks. We had the Sharks come in the other day, and guys like, he's washed up, joking around. This guy is junk. This kid, and he's just doing nothing but scoring. But here's where he's the most important part for him, for the Stars, is he is the catalyst between Pete DeBoer, the head coach, and the rest of the players. Because what happened is they brought Pete DeBoer in, and Pete DeBoer's got all these new ideas. So who does he go to? A guy that he has had in San Jose is Pavelski. Players love Pavelski. Players follow Pavelski. He's that catalyst. I talked about an NHL winning team that wins the Stanley Cup. He is the catalyst. He's the glue guy. He brings everybody together. Hey, here in Dallas, we never had guys come out before practice. Like, I've been here for, I think, 25 years. It was rare to see guys come out before practice and work on stuff. Pavelski comes out. He's the oldest guy, but he's also the first guy on the ice every single day. Lo and behold, now we're seeing 5, 6, 7 guys out half hour before the skates, and they're working on stuff. So that tells you exactly kind of the imprint that he has on the guys. So he's the reason. And then he goes out and goes on the ice and scores the goals he does. It's unbelievable. And I love that that Pavelski's the guy, because he's not fast. Can he dangle through anybody? He's not McDavid. He's not one of these guys, Kucherov. All he does is do it right. He's got bad boots, but he finds a way to get to the net. He finds a way to score goals. And he's the guy with angles and all this. Like, I love to sit up in my perch and watch the angles that he takes for the goals, his ability to cut off passes, all the junk that you just can't watch on TV. So it's really fun. He's one of those guys that I love to watch. So I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, he's to me, just watching him play, like the vision that he has for how to get it done is so unique. He's got a sixth sense of where to go, what the play's doing, who's on the ice with him, who's on the ice for the other team, and that's, I think, it's just his experience. I mean, there's the hard part about hockey is by the time these guys get that sixth sense and that amount of experience, the game starts to wear them out. Pavelski, it hasn't done that. He's got all the brains.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because his game is not speed, right?
No,
that's
not at all.
That's why he's got to have other guys in there. Here, Rope Hintz, you get it in for me. Jason Robertson, you get around there, you find the puck. I'll be lurking out, trying to find open areas for you to pass to. And that's what he does. Yeah, he's a big brain. We call him Big Brain Pavelski. Yeah, he's the guy. And they also call him, if we didn't have Evgeny Dadonov here, they would have called him Daddy, because he is the guy that everybody goes to. He's a very impressive guy off the ice. Like, he is awesome. So, yeah, he's fun to watch. And if there's a guy that you got to cheer for that hasn't won it, he's the guy. Hey, I just figured out why Jason's not on this call. It's too in depth for him. He doesn't want to talk this. He'd be lost. He couldn't contribute anything. So I understand.
You have to realize that Jason is a Red Wings fan, and if he were on the call, we'd already be talking about the Red Wings. No matter what goes on in the NHL,
he's one of those
what
guys
we're talking about, all roads lead back to Stevie Y for Jason.
Well, oh my God, stop the man! I played for the Colorado Avalanche, and I was in that big brawl that we had.
Oh boy!
So yeah, I've never seen two organizations hate each other. Like, the trainers didn't talk to each other. The players were pissed off at each other. Every game was a battle, and they hated Lemieux. It was just crazy. It was a brawl. But yeah, they didn't even share tape back then. They were like, "Screw you guys, Avalanche come in." So yeah, we don't want to talk to him anyway.
We've had McCarty on a bunch of times, and Jason's in hog heaven, being able to talk about McCarty and the Avalanche. So
yeah, that's awesome. Fun.
It's funny. We were talking to a guy about the Ottawa Senators. I don't know if you picked up that podcast, but we had a great little chit chat, and somehow it all came back to how the Red Wings were the secret to Ottawa's success.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
It's like everything's about the Red Wings.
Yeah, I had a producer for 3 years. He's from New York, from the Rangers area. So every graphic, it just popped up. We're going to talk about Ron Greshner somehow, and I don't know what the hell's going on. And now it's this year, our producer, New York Islanders. So I got Pat Flatley stuff coming up in the middle of our stuff, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? So I feel you. I feel for you.
I let him have it. It's his guilty pleasure. He just the day the Red Wings make it back to the playoffs, he's going to host his own parade down the middle of his main street.
It is so nice to see him suffer right now, though, isn't it? Just sit back and just smile, listen to them digging for playoffs, trying to get in, looking for players. Now they're going to turn it around, though. But you're right. But for now, it's just nice to give it to him. I bet.
Oh yeah, no, he takes his licks. He's got it. So he probably would. I don't know. He'd find a way to make the Stars discussion about that. But for me, the Stars really do look like they have a very strong chance of winning the Stanley Cup. And yes, and Jason and I do have players that we root for to get a cup, and Pavelski is on that list. We'd love to see him get a cup. Anders Lee is on that list. We want to see him get a cup. The guy's a grinder. He sits there. He takes the abuse in front of the net. Love to see it. McDavid, we want him to see him get a cup. I think he'll get one. I think he's got to get one. I mean, come on. But, it's iffy what's going on with those Oilers, isn't it? It's always iffy.
I'm an Oilers fan. I don't know. I'm an Oilers fan. I'm from Bakerville, which is a small town in Alberta. Yeah, world's largest Easter egg. If you want to Google that, that's what we have in our hometown of 5,000 people. And I had tickets. We had season tickets to the Oilers, kind of winning their cups. Not a big deal, right? Wow. Yeah. So I know. So now McDavid comes in, and what you got to know though, because I played on teams where we had 2 or 3 scorers, and that's how you can't build a team. Like you just can't have that. And even though those guys are unbelievable, you shut those guys down or you keep them at bay. And you can usually win games. And that's the way the Stars were here in '99. That's the way that my team over in Europe was. And that's the way my team with the University of Golden Bears was. We had our scorers, and they were elevated their play in playoffs, but you needed the meat and potatoes guys. You needed the goaltending, of course, but it takes a little bit more than 2 guys to do it. And hopefully the Oilers at some point could do it, just not this year.
Yeah, it's tough to watch that, and we always have the discussion: does McDavid, come out and say I need a trade so that he can go get it? If it's not going to happen in Edmonton, he's going to want to win a cup at some point.
Oh, for sure.
Does he go to a bigger market? Does he say, I think the Bruins look healthy? Should I go to Colorado or something? I mean, there are some teams that just have cup potential every year. The Golden Knights, who knows, but. I feel for him up in, he's so like watching him is like watching, it's like watching the Flash combined with Superman, combined with, the Incredible Hulk all at the same time. And then he's got like the goal scoring ability of a Mario Lemieux. It's incredible what he's able to do, but it's true. You cannot win these hockey titles with 1 or 2 or 3 dudes. You need the whole package to get through.
Yeah, you can go back to Vegas winning it, right? You look at it's the 3rd and 4th lines that really chipped in. You just gotta have everybody, and it's so vital and hard to do because you got to find guys. And that's why you were mentioning the Stars. What are the Stars right now? 5 20-goal scorers, the most in the NHL, I believe. So that's a lot of guys chipping in. We got Wyatt Johnston, who's at 19, Mason Marchman, who's at 18, and even our defenseman there, Thomas Harley. He's got, I think he's got 14 right now, so he could get there as well. So when you start to go through that, you can see what the Stars are doing, and that's what happens when that top line, like Rope Hintz is on a drought right now. He just can't seem to. He had an open netter a couple nights ago, but just can't seem to score. So Matt Duchene chips in, as you mentioned. Jamie Benn gets the overtime winner in the shootout. Yeah, you got to dig deep, right? You got to go through your lineup. How about the 4th line? Faxa gets a goal too as well against the other night against San Jose. So you need those guys to chip in, and the more you have that, the better chance you have, because that's the biggest thing when I watch those guys win the cup, the grind that happens, and the confidence that you have to have in playoffs when shit's hitting the fan, right? It's crazy. Those guys, their heart rate didn't go up at all.
Right.
Like with their St. Louis, we were coming back, and the St. Louis I walked in the dressing room, the guys are calm. It was good. And when they had to elevate their game, they did. When it was a tough game, they just kept going. So it's pretty amazing the mental capacity you have to have as a team. And that I go back to Pavelski. And when the shit hits the fan during the between period stuff and on the bench, there's a guy that's got to bring it together. He's got to say, hey, fellas, relax, take it easy. Everything is fine. We had Mike Keane is the guy for the Dallas Stars that was the catalyst for us, I thought. He carved, we had all these captains on the team that when everything was going crazy in playoffs, fans going nuts, you got one opportunity to win the cup. Those guys were there to settle things the F down. It was pretty neat to watch.
So cool. I mean, it is. It's just I love the Stanley Cup playoffs every year. I mean, I'm just a stats hound also. And so again, that's where like when Doc Emmerich would come on and we'd talk, we would just get into the weeds on the stats because it's really like, past performance is a predictor of your future outcomes. I mean, it really is. And these players, I don't know. I see the Stars and I see the teams that I think have a real shot at the Cup this year. I really think Vegas has another shot at it. The Rangers look great. The Panthers are these teams are all doing great. But it's what happens when you get to that last few weeks before playoffs with injuries, who's burnt out, who's worn out, who's, got a nagging hip that's not going to let them do what they do. That's going to make the difference when it comes time for playoffs.
Yeah, and the Stars added Tanev too, right? He's the guy that on the back end for the defensive aspect. They needed that. Little bit dry down there on the back end. They put Joe Hanley on waivers today, so he's gone. Tanev's going to come in, waiting for some issues with. He's in Canada still, so the immigration stuff. They do not know if he's going to be there on Tuesday or not. So we're going to see what happens. But again, another shot blocking guy. You look over the past, his whole career among active guys, he's like 12th in block shots. He runs the penalty kill. Yeah, he's a guy that will get in the way of shots. He's a big, solid guy. You can put him anywhere in the lineup. And that's what happened. The Stars got some injuries. Mirazkin went down for a bit. So Lundqvist comes in, and he's not the same. So they need a little help on the back end and some depth. And Tanev is a guy, because again, like I said, I love the meat and potatoes guys. The money bags can do whatever they want. They can score goals, but those guys are so important. And so now we got Esa Lindell, Hakanpää, and Tanev, some real good penalty killers, which are going to shore that up and take care of their own end a little bit, because their Stars have to bring their goals against down. That's one area where they've kind of struggled a little bit. And it's not necessarily the defense. Again, I was an ex-defenseman. I'm going to stick up for my boys. Forwards not coming back and tracking and not helping out enough too as well. But hopefully a Tanev in the lineup kind of settles things down a litgoing and Ottinger can get a little more consistency.
Yeah, I mean, what about the tandem of Ottinger and Wedgwood? I mean, is that going to be what it is going into the the playoffs?
Yeah, both have been really good. Ottinger could be better, right? We're looking for consistency in his game, and when what we love about the kid is that he's so focused, right? No matter what's going on, he just seems to elevate his play. In the consistency over the past couple of years when he's had to lead the charge, it's tough. Again, as you know, and you watch hockey or any sport, jobs, whatever it is, it's maintaining consistency. That's why NHL players stick around. That's why Ryan Suter has stuck around for 20 years. That's why Pavelski has stuck around for so many years as well, is because they have the consistency. So Ottinger comes in, he's the number one guy, and, he's getting pushed. Guys are coming at him hard. They're reading him a little bit. More homework is done on him. But now, past couple games, he's straightened it out a little bit, had some good games. Wedgwood has had to come in, and he's an admirable guy that, backups, man. Those poor bastards, they got a bad life, right? Every back-to-back and every 3 and 4 or every road trip, they're the guys that are stuffed in that net and going, here you go, good luck with it. But he really thrives from it, right? He's a calm guy. He loves to practice. And he had a stretch there. I think it was like 17 games, 12 games when Ottinger was hurt. Started out really strong, but the more he played, you could see less practice time for him. You could see his game kind of get a little eroded because of what was happening. But as far as a backup, he's great. He's going to be the guy there. And if Otter needs a little break, he can hop in there.
Absolutely. I mean, I liked him when he was on. I think he started out on the Devils, and that's where I don't know if that was his first team, but that's where I kind of took notice of him a little bit. Our one of our podcast regulars, Christy Flannery, who writes for the Devils now for the NHL, she she said, you got to look at this kid. He's got game, and
Yeah.
he came up and really did. So, I mean, I'm pretty impressed with his development, and you're going to need that going into the playoffs because there's some other
Yeah.
teams who want that cup.
Yeah. Honestly, though, if you see Wedgie in the net, though, you're like, oh my gosh, we better hang on here. This is going to be exciting. You never know. He could be the guy that could take it, but you really need Ottinger to get in there and stuff him. Just like we had Eddie Belfort, Patrick Waugh back in the day. Every goal, obviously the Vegas Golden Knights, they had like 5 goaltenders, and all of a sudden their 4th goaltender comes out and kind of runs the roost. You don't know. You just need someone to grab the handles and go. As you know, it's going to be important for the Stars.
Who's their biggest threat in the playoffs?
Well, here's the deal. You've got this race going on with the Colorado Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
Like, that's all I'm watching. I'm watching those teams because you think about it, 2 and 3 are going to have to play against each other.
That's right.
So, yeah, and we brought that up to Matt Duchene, and we said, and he was like, yeah, we don't care who we play or whatever. And they said, okay, but if you really think about it, 2 and 3 are going to play. One of them is gone. Like, one really good team, whether it's the Stars, whether it's Colorado or the Jets. See you later, folks. So someone's going to be crying and going to have to go home and have suck their thumb. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Going to be
really good teams.
Really good teams. And still, yeah, even though if you got to maybe play LA one, and that's still a tough game. But I'm saying you don't want Colorado or Winnipeg in the first round.
No
you don't
way.
know what the heck's going to, right? You're sweating. I want those two to go duke it out. And then, whatever happens with the Stars, hopefully get that number 1 seed. But it's going to come down to the end of the season. If you're watching it, they've been rotating positions 1 and 3 throughout the entire season. So here we go. And that's what's kept it interesting for the Stars. And they're pushing, and the Jets are pushing. Colorado's in and out. They're struggling. So it's been a lot of fun to watch from our end, that top portion of the conference.
Oh, I mean, I think the the Avalanche and the Jets both look like they're firing on all cylinders for sure. But I'll tell you, man, I really like the Stars. I liked them when they had Corey Perry on, of course. I thought
I love Corey
Perry. Was handy.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah, he's a guy any team can use.
Oh, one of my favorites. I spent 4 years as a broadcaster there with them when they won the cup, and just the quietest guy, nicest guy off the ice. Hey, how you doing? Good. And then he gets on the ice, and you're like, what the hell happened to this kid? He is taking numbers and spearing people and yelling at you about your mother. And I'm just like, what happens, man? No, it's great. That's what you need, because that's a learned trade. Obviously, all of us, and I had to fight for a living. You just learn that, and that's the way he is. He's just a battler. And how many times he's been to the playoffs and lost so recently? Oh my God, 3 or 4 times, whatever it was. Just like, please, someone get him a cup.
He's got the one from Anaheim.
Yep,
so
yep.
Good news. He's not without. And he's a Hart Trophy winner.
But still, it's like ripping your heart out every final, right? Think about it. Stars, Montreal, whatever. You're just like, he's in again, and then see you later. Yes, he's always got that one with Anaheim, but he's going to be the guy that's known for just coming up short so many times in those games.
I know, and I would argue that he was part of the reason that those 3 teams made it to the cup way that they did. He's just I mean, I loved what I live in Orange County, so we go to the Ducks games all the time, and I loved watching him play there. And then then he goes to these other teams and does damage. He's just a real he's a Pavelski style guy that's found a way in his senior time in the NHL to really be effective. And the game has to change for these guys when they get to that age. That's for sure.
Yeah, but think about him. He's wrapped in barbed wire, right? This is not. Yes. He's not bubble wrap. That kid is not bubble wrap. He is going in. He's hacking, whacking, chopping, sweatbands on. He's got the mouth guard biting down, and he's going for the net. And if he can get you and piss you off, he's going to go to it. So that's why he's Brad Marchand, right? That's the same thing. You watch them play, and that's awesome. And that's another. Watch this Stankoven kid. Have you been watching him, Logan Stankoven?
Yes. Yeah. Amazing.
Now, there's another little bugger that goes in there, and his feet are moving 1,000 miles an hour. So if your fans don't know him at all, watch him. Number 11 in your program. He's going to be number 1 in your heart because he is awesome to watch. Just a little 5'8" guy that buzzes around. Great shot. Point of game player, and everywhere he's played, whether it's the Western Hockey League, whether it's the American Hockey League, and now in a short stint to the AHL, NHL, he's been outstanding.
Stankoven. Yeah, no, I saw him. I forget which team he was on, but he what team is he on right now?
Stars.
He's on the
Yeah,
Stars.
yeah, that's what I mean. You don't even know about this kid. You're going to hear him. Here we talk about him a lot because the fans have been wanting this guy
They love him.
in here. They love him, yeah. So he got injuries, obviously, to Sagan. He went down. Dadonov went down. So they had to bring up a kid. Yeah, and he's just.
But he came from an AHL team. That's
yeah,
right.
Correct. Yeah, Texas Stars.
Got
so
it.
He's one of the top scorers in the AHL.
Yes. Okay,
that's scores. Yeah,
that's why I knew him.
Yeah, you're going to know about him because I know anybody that doesn't watch the Stars on a daily basis, like, who's this little Stankoven kid? That's a funny name. And then you see him out there, and him and Wyatt Johnston have played together at the national level, and now they're playing together with the Stars. And
that's great.
Those two, yeah. So there's a name for you to watch.
We'll have our eyes on him for sure, especially as playoffs roll around. That can be a little bit of a secret weapon if people don't know him.
Yeah, and he's just a little shit out there. He's fun to watch. Like I said, if you like that sort of stuff, like I like the grinders, get in there and fight it out a little bit.
I do. So just to round back to the fighting piece that we opened with here, that was kind of your gig when you were playing in the NHL. I know that you went up against some pretty big guys like Brashear and Probert, and I don't know if you ever got to go with the Grim Reaper or not.
Oh yeah, pick your poison. Yeah, and that's the thing. It was never my role. And just the problem was I was a good fighter and not a very good hockey player. So when I was playing for the New York Islanders, I was playing defense through the Florida days and Islanders. And then I got a call from the Colorado Avalanche, their trainer, who I had known from before. Chris Simon was on his way out from the Avalanche for whatever reason. Avalanche had just won the Stanley Cup. And he called me and he said, and I beat up Chris Simon a couple times or had some really good fights with him.
Nice.
So he called me and said, we're looking for a tough guy. You want to be one? And I was like, you're going to win a Stanley Cup? And he says, yep. I said, I'm in. And so it changed my life forever because I went from a player to a goon, right? An enforcer. And what happens is, you mentioned those guys, whether it's a Simon, whether it's a Bob Probert, or whether it's Ty Domi, Joey Kosher.
Yep.
Go to those are the guys I'm fighting now. So not only do I not play anymore and I'm playing 4 minutes or 5 minutes a game, I got to get bigger and stronger. So in the summers, I'm getting, which normally I was about 210, 215, I got to get to 245.
Wow.
So so I'm 6% body fat, 245, boxing, fighting, learning how to fight better. You know what I mean? So my skills are deteriorating. So when I started the season, I dropped down to 220 and, I go out and try to play and you lose all your faculties.
Yeah.
But here's the issue. I would have never won a Stanley Cup, probably here in Dallas, because I was brought over to protect the guys during that year, had I not made that call or taken that call from my buddy to go to Colorado.
Got it.
It's weird how it all works. So I don't know. My name's on the Stanley Cup, but I was a fighter for the team, which is kind of part of the team, but not really when it counted, right? So it's kind of a weird thing. So it's funny how your life changes with a phone call, with a trade, with something, and that's the way we all are. And then I met my wife here, and this is why I live in Texas and have done broadcasting for 25 years. All not because of that phone call. Is it good? Yeah, it's great because my name's on the cup. Could I have been a better player had I not done that? Yes. Would I have stayed in the lead longer? I don't know. So that's what I deal with. But I can look up right there and see my Stanley Cup and know my name's on it, so which is kind of cool as well.
That is very cool. There's a lot of people who play in the NHL that never get close to getting their name on the cup. So, you got it's a big win.
Yeah. And to take it home to your buddies, right? We all get a day with it, right?
Yep.
And to take it and share it with your friends. And I just sat back and with my beer and I just watched them. They were kings for a night. You know what I mean?
Oh,
They ran the Stanley Cup. The girls could come. The guys could take pictures. They could do whatever they wanted with it. And it was awesome. That's all those guys that really, your parents and everybody that backs you up in the tough times in your career. It was great to share it with them.
Well, that is amazing. I think just to be able to do that, the Stanley Cup it's the holy grail of hockey. It's why you play the game at that level. And I always, people don't understand what it takes to get to that point. They don't know how much grit and how much just pain and agony there really is involved to get through those playoffs, to get to that cup and to win it is a whole nother level. It's just incredible. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Jason not making this podcast because he's trying to fight through. He couldn't fight through to get to the podcast. Remember, he had to drive by so probably wouldn't win a Stanley Cup. He can't fight through this stuff.
But he would of course then tell you the story about how he went and raised the Stanley Cup in Detroit when it was the Red Wings had just won the cup, and it was at the house of one of his friends, so we went over to see it. And when the guys weren't looking, he picked it up, held it over his head, and got a picture of him holding it over his head. And the cup keepers went crazy on him, but he got the photo.
Hey, you can edit all that out somehow, can't you? Just swipe that away. We don't.
No, we're leaving it in. We want it all in. Jason needs to hear it. It's good for him. He likes it. Don't worry.
I know.
He would definitely relate it all back to the Wings. Don't you worry.
I know that. Well, you did it for him, so thank you.
I did. He's not even here, and we did it.
I know, and those buggers beat us in the semifinals. You know what I mean? I thought that because that Colorado team that we brawled with Detroit is the best team that I've ever played on, including the Dallas Stars team that won. Like we had Sakic, Forsberg. It was just unbelievable the squad we had, and we lose to those Yin Yangs in the semifinals. Still a little bitter to this day. I want to talk about it.
That team, just, to digress for 1 second, I remember watching that Colorado Avalanche team. They just left Quebec City to go to Denver. And I mean, I watched a lot of hockey. I still do. And I remember when they got to Colorado, the Forsberg and Sakic and these guys, they looked like they had rockets attached to their skates.
Yeah.
It looked so different than any other team in the league. Like, I would watch them, I'd be like, what is this team? How are they going like that? And that has become the standard of play in the NHL today.
Yeah.
That was the first team that I saw that really played that way, where speed was essential. And it was a game changer, and it was a problem for teams like the Red Wings and obviously the other the Penguins and these other big name teams that they blew them out of the water.
Yep, and to go along with that, they had this toughness. Like Peter Forsberg, to me, is the best player that I've ever played with. Like we play one-on-one on the ice, and like you never have the puck. If he wanted to keep it away from you, you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And another thing, like if the opponent took a run at Peter, he would take it. But guess what? That player, at some point, Peter would take the cross ice run at him and try to wipe him out. And all of a sudden, that guy would be laying on the ground, either from an elbow or a stiff check. He did not care. He did not care. And that's why he got so beat up, I thought, over the years, was his ability to take punishment and give it back. Like, he wasn't at all afraid to get in there and battle. And that's what you notice when you walk in a dressing room like that. It's a feeling. It's like when I walked in the Stars, I was like, ooh, I've had this feeling. Now, when I went into other teams, whether it was Anaheim was one of them, I walked in that dressing room and I knew they were done. I could just tell. After going from Colorado and seeing what I saw in college, I was like, you can't just have two guys scoring. You can't have just Solani scoring, you know what I mean, and Korea scoring. You just can't have that.
Nope.
You need to have the base, right? So, yeah, it's pretty easy. Quick story of Joe Sakic and us sluggos. After games, we have to go work out and train a little bit and get in there and battle and try to get our skills back through the weight room. So I get in there and I'm doing my bench or my upper body or whatever the hell I was doing. And all of a sudden I hear clank, 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 clank. And this is after a game. And I look over and it's freaking Joe Sakic. He just played 20 minutes on the ice and he's doing jump squats with 225 pounds and just killing it. Like, I'd never seen a superstar in a weight room working out after a game, right? It's usually your third and fourth liners in there, buys and tries, trying to look good for the beach, but he's in there and he's training for the game. And you mentioned the speed of those guys, and Joe Sakic was one of them, right? Yep. He was the guy that worked hard and did it all, but his conditioning and his hard work off the ice as well was a big part of it, I'm sure.
I mean, it was so noticeable to me. I mean, I'm just a very keen observer of sort of the performance of athletes in general, just whether it's baseball, football, but hockey obviously is my favorite sport. And I do remember, like, kind of commenting to myself, like, what is with the speed of this Avalanche team? I remember it was so visible. It just came through the screen that there was something different. The amount of movement and how fast it was going and the way that they got the puck around, it was a different level, and I don't know who kind of instilled that in those players, but it wasn't like that when they were the Nordiques.
Well, yeah,
It wasn't
because
that
you know
way.
why? We won 9 games when I was with the Nordiques. That's why. And they got all those darn draft picks. That's how you build a squad, right?
Ah,
Right? That's how you do it. Yeah, they were futile for so long, and then all of a
oh,
sudden you got Sakic and all these guys coming in, and that's what happened. They had all these #1 picks, and they kept trying, and boom, there it was. Moved to Colorado, win the cup. Tip
they
your
sure
waiters. Yeah, it's
did.
great. Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, Brent, I don't want to keep you all night. I really appreciate all the info on,
Yeah,
you know, your Dallas Stars fans are going to love this podcast because it's a great leading up to the playoffs.
yeah.
Who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup if it's not the Stars? I know you believe the Stars are going to win, and I think they're definitely in the run. Who are the other teams that they need to look out for? Who's not just in their conference? Who's
Yeah,
going to win
yeah.
this cup?
Yeah, you know which team I really like all the time, and I hate to say this because my buddy is a Carolina Hurricane fan. Like to me, if they could ever get some goaltending and get some real bite to their game, like I've noticed them for a couple of years, and like I say, I hate to say it because I have bets with my buddy all the time. If his Carolina Hurricanes beat the Stars, I got to wear his junk, and then when my team wins, which they did twice this year, he's got to go full Stars outfit because I run a skate here every Friday, so I put him in full Stars gear,
Oh, that's
and
great.
it pisses them off. So, but I like Carolina Hurricanes and the Rangers too were pretty good as well, you know. But again, I'm not even looking past it because I got to watch the Avalanche and the Jets. Once we start to get through and they build off of that, then I can see, all right, this is what's going to happen in playoffs, and then we'll worry about the Eastern Conference.
Is there any big trade you think that's going to happen in the next week? Anything that's going to like rock everybody's world? Anything going to move? Anybody selling or buying that you think is going to hit the NHL?
Well, I think the Stars are. I'm hoping the Stars are done because I don't know if they can bring anybody in. When you start looking at the salary cap stuff, you know, and try to figure that out.
Of
Listen,
course.
I'm just a guy that got beat up at the NHL level to try to figure all of that out. It's hard to find, but I hope the Stars stay where they are. They've got some pieces down in the minors that they can bring up, so I think they're fine. But like I said, I go back to the Jets and the Avalanche. You know, they need some wingers out there. It'd be interesting to see what those guys are doing. The Jets are really big. I went and watched the pregame skate, and the Jets are big. When they're on the ice, they take up a lot of ice, man. I'm looking around going, man, they got speed, they got everything. Hellebuck is a great goaltender. He can shut you down at any time. So that's the teams that I'm watching for. And right now, I don't know. There's rumors that happen all the time, but as long as the Avalanche don't get better and the Jets don't get better, but they're going to be looking for some pieces moving forward. And we got our guy. In 10 of the Stars got their guy.
Yeah.
I heard about not Sean Monahan, Hannafin, and I was like, no, we want Tanev. I think that's the guy that we really need to balance out this lineup.
Tanev is a great choice. He's an incredible player. I love watching him play. I think, you know, like I was at the Ducks game, you know, last night, and I'm looking at Frank Vetrano scoring 29 goals.
Yeah.
I think he's ripe for the picking, you know.
Yeah, he's the one that teams. He's the one you look at. Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because you know when you see him play the Stars a couple times, that little bugger gets that puck all the time. Great shot, you know.
Really great shot.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You're just like, oh, he's shooting peas again. You can't give him the puck. You know, Miro Hiskins all over him. He still finds a way to get a goal. Yeah, he's one of them as well that you got to watch. Gensel and obviously the guy there, and Hannafin is the guys that they're watching. So. Yeah, we don't know. I'd love to be privy to a couple of those conversations just to sit and listen to all the phone calls, right, and what goes on and what they really think. Because it's hard. Like all of us, we have to watch so many players, right? Like we've got 800, 900 players that we got to contend with all the time. But those guys are so focused in on their guys. And then they have 8 or 9 guys helping them make their decision. And then they got a whole analytics department that they talk to. You know, you and I are on our computer. We're looking at capfriendly.com and go into our sports radar to get our stuff. And we can't keep up with what they're doing. You just can't, you know, so it's really tough. So it's fun to watch, right? And I've never been a guy that we could do this or move that. I don't know the pieces underneath all of it. Like the character of these guys for every single guy in the National Hockey League, whether it fits or not. And that's important for these top level teams. Does the guy fit in? Yeah. Vetrano, maybe he's a great goal scorer. What kind of guy is he? Is he a cancer for there? I don't know. Like, I don't know the kid well enough to tell you whether or not he's going to screw up somebody. And that's what they look at. That's why they have these big staffs to go through everything.
Yeah, you got to keep the chemistry. I mean, that's really important. And if it's a if it's discordant, if it doesn't
Yep.
jive with the vibe of the team, it can cause problems that you
Oh
don't
yeah.
need at the end of the season.
Yeah, they before the Stars 98-99 season, they flew me in and they had meetings with me. I met their coach, I met their general manager, and all I was going to be a fourth line fighter. But they wanted to meet me and talk to me and see what kind of guy I was before they brought me in. So it's real important at every level.
100%. Well, listen, Brent, I really appreciate you taking the
Yeah.
time. Can you just list off your Twitter or where people can kind of follow what you're doing?
Oh, I don't even use it much. I'm an old. I don't know if you are. Like, I don't promote shit. You know what I mean? I'm just happy to talk hockey. But I think it's at Brent Severyn, I would have guessed. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Yeah.
well,
I like working here. I teach hockey every day, and I do the
wow,
broadcasting. So I'm on the ice every day. I love doing my jobs, and this is what I do. So I'm not into all
fantastic.
that stuff. But yeah, yeah. And
Well,
I hope to maybe come down to meet you one day because it intrigued me when I got the email from your group. I was like, what the hell are these guys all about? They got two doctors talking hockey. Like, what made you guys start this? I know you talked a little bit about before, but what the hell got you going with this?
well, I love hockey and I wanted to talk about it. And I feel like when I retire from plastic surgery, I'm going to need something that shows that I know a little something about the game because I probably want to do something with the NHL,
But you
even if
played?
it's be like a professional cheerleader. I did
Yeah,
play, but I never got to any kind of level like this. I went to Nashville I went to Vanderbilt undergrad. So when I got
yeah,
to Nashville, it was not a hockey town like it is now.
yeah.
That was a long time ago. And so we just did this because we love talking about hockey and we take a different approach. We talk about the physiology and the injuries and
Yeah.
everything about the game sort of from a doctor's perspective, but we're just fans with microphones and we love
Yeah,
it.
and you're from California. Like I got
Uh,
this, I thought, oh, you guys are from Porcupine, Saskatchewan, or something. But no, you're from California. I'm like, what the f? I got to talk to this guy.
Well, let me tell you a little story about that. I was at a dinner in Calgary, and I was talking about hockey the way that we are right now. And this guy goes, "You grew up in British Columbia." I
Yeah,
know exactly. He
exactly.
kind of like he's looking right at me. I go, "No, I grew up in Short Hills, New Jersey." And he was like, "New Jersey." He goes, "What? How do you know about hockey? Like, no Americans know about." I was
Yeah,
like, I've been a hockey fan. I have, pictures of me at age 5 in a Rangers jersey at the Madison Square Garden. Like I have loved hockey my whole life
yeah,
and I've always been sort of like I just get into it this way and Jason is the same way. We both love talking it and watching games and seeing what's going to happen and we always predict who's going to win the Stanley Cup at the beginning of the season and we've been right a couple of times and I think it was Emerson Edom that said, you predicted the last Stanley Cup. I predicted it. It was Florida in 6 and sorry, Golden Knights in 6, and
yeah,
he was like, nobody would have predicted that at the beginning. I said, but you had to understand the injuries, and if
yeah,
you understood the injuries and who the injuries were being carried by, the Panthers were not the same team that got to the Stanley Cup,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
knew that, and I think they knew that too, and they can't have Matt Tkachuk playing with a fractured sternum. That's not
yeah.
you can't do anything.
Yeah. That was hard to watch, eh? Like
It
there's
was, and
oh
it like you can't expect him to be anything with a fractured sternum, and he's the
oh my
key to
god.
that team. He's one of the keys. Now they've got Reinhart, they've got
Yeah.
Carter Verhaeghe. Like the Florida Panthers look
And,
formidable
and they're
at the
going up,
least.
right?
Yeah,
And they're getting better every game. You see that go
at the
up.
least they're formidable. They
Yeah.
just but Bobrovsky's on his game. It's like it's very hard to see how the Panthers aren't going to be a force in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
again, it depends what happens those 3 weeks before.
Yeah. And I hated
So,
that it's in front of 5,000 fans. No, I know they have more fans now, but that barn always that just drives me nuts with a team
oh,
like that, right? So hopefully they can get a nice little run and get some traction there, if you will.
yeah, no, they will, I think but that's why we've done this podcast, and I started it off, when I started it after Joe and McPhee and all these guys sort of were like, you do something with your hockey knowledge. You know too much. I kind of
Yeah.
gave Joe like before the draft, I gave him my list of who I would draft and
That's great.
for the Golden Knights, and they went to the Stanley Cup, and 85% players I picked wound up on that team.
Nice.
And Joe was just like, you know about this stuff too much. Like, what's the deal? And I said, just a fan with a microphone, man. I love it.
Yeah,
And
that is great.
yeah, it's been great. I love it. And I appreciate guys like you coming on and telling the stories, and our fans love it. We have, 10,000 loyal fans that listen to this,
Nice.
time
Yeah.
we put out one, and it's great. And they really, they love it. They send us notes, and so it's very cool. So I appreciate you coming on, Brent. And we'll grab you again if the Stars are going deep. Maybe you can come on and tell us what their odds are. We would love it.
For sure. Anytime you guys want to talk hockey. Yeah. Really
All
nice
right,
meeting
I
you.
appreciate it. Thanks, Brent Severyn from the Dallas Stars, and more to come in the future.